and gentlemen, welcome to the Midnight Shift podcast. This is episode 1, brand new podcast. I'm Justin.
I'm Jimmy.
We've been best friends for a long time, so we're going to talk about everything to do with monsters and horror and the dark side of stuff and scary movies and some books, cryptids, whatever we can come up with that's creepy, scary, spooky, and otherwise. So we'll see where the conversation goes. Anyway, Jim, so we've been friends for I was adding it up. I'm 26. You're 26. You know, our birthdays are literally 2 months apart. 2 months to the day. And I was adding it up. So we met in 7th grade, to my recollection.
I remember it being 7th grade. I don't remember exactly, semester or whatever the heck it was. Right. But I just remember some weird music class with the weirdest teacher ever, Jesse Evans, who had some goatee and pulled...
I like Jesse Evans.
I did too, but you can't deny when he pulled Josh Vitoy up to him, and he's 6 foot, and Josh Vitoy's 5'4". I'm just going to pull you 6 inches in the air, and I'm going to tell you, all right, listen here, you need to stop that stuff in class.
I didn't see that, but I definitely heard about it. I don't know. I was just telling Devin about this the other day, about I think about what he told us a lot, where he said the best compliment I can offer you after you play is simply, and granted you guys are listening, but pretty much just a head nod. And he explained that he means that he expected a lot and you achieved that. So that to me has meant a lot. I kind of get it. If you don't expect much and oh, you impressed me. I thought you suck. Yeah.
He was all right. I don't know. The only good thing about that class was honestly and truly meeting you.
Yeah.
And I remember, I still thought when I texted you about when you said about doing this podcast, and I texted you, I remembered always Step Brothers, because I was talking about I like horror films, and you're like, well, I like horror films too. Oh, you do? And yeah. Well, what's your favorite horror film? And
right.
We're just literally just naming a dinosaur. We're just Halloween. And it's all right, this guy knows horror films. All right, I'm backing down, you know.
Right. And I mean that's where it started. A lot of this stuff that we do now, that's where it started, was Halloween. We talked about Halloween. That led to the haunted house. I don't remember how exactly you got involved in it. I don't remember a lot from.
I was thinking about that too.
Except you had all those masks.
Well, I loved as a kid. I used to love. I was 5. I remember when I first watched Halloween. I was 5, and I don't know. My grandpa was trying to scare me, so he was all right, well, me and your uncle are gonna go play dice. He brought the jack-o'-lantern inside. He had up a campfire in this old Indian ceramic kind of fireplace thing. So I don't know, kind of set the ambiance, and you sit down watch the movie. And I was
that inside.
No, it was outside.
So you brought a real fire inside?
No, he brought the jack-o'-lantern in. But no, the fire was outside. So I'm watching the fire, got that, trick-or-treat, Halloween, and I watched the movie, and I thought it was a great movie. I wasn't scared by Michael Myers. I truly thought, even as look, that was a really good movie. And my grandpa's you weren't afraid? I was expecting you to come running here screaming, and I don't know, it kind of led to this horror thing. I loved scary movies, started collecting masks and costumes, and it led to... When you were you want to do a haunted house? Oh my God, I've always wanted to do a haunted house.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember how... I don't remember my first scary movie. My first memories of horror, of scary movie stuff, I've got 2 of them. So one of them happened when I lived in Black Oak. So before we even moved to South Haven. Mm-hmm. So I was young, because we moved to South Haven when I was 5. So this was before that. And I remember this. I remember laying on the floor of our living room. My Aunt Amanda was watching me. My parents were out, whatever, who knows where, I don't know. I don't know what they did when I was that young. But I remember we were sleeping in the living room, because that's where the TV was. Mm-hmm. So we slept out there. We had blankets out and stuff. And I remember eating hot Cheetos and watching scary movies, and I fell asleep. And she talked about how I fell asleep halfway into this bag and barely in the scary movie. But I remember we watched Amityville 3. And I remember that because I remember the case of it, and it's got, cause so like in the 80s, everything was like, number 3 was always like 3D. It was always 3D. So,
Jaws, 3D.
Right. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, 3D, with all this stupid, corny, freaking, like, guys
it was great.
yo-yoing at the screen
Don't deny
for 5 minutes.
It was great. The yo-yoing was great. That was in Friday 3, wasn't it? That's when he had, and that's when he gets the mask too.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorites. But anyway, it was Amityville 3. I don't remember anything about it except for the case, because it had like a monster hand. It was almost like a gremlin hand, or like the hand of like it when he turns into like a monster, and it was like coming out of the house, like on the cover. I remember that. And then the other thing I remember was my aunt was dating a guy named Mike. We were at his mom's house. Again, they were watching me, and I was staying over there. And again, I don't remember the movie at all, but we had rented, back when renting movies was a thing, we had rented a movie called Ghoulies, which is basically a rip-off of the Gremlins.
Yeah.
But on the cover, there was a ghoulie coming out of a toilet. And, like, I guess that scared the hell out of me. Because, like, that night I got up and I had to pee. And I would not go in the bathroom to pee. So I peed on the bathroom floor. And, like, these are the two stories that I hear about all the time from, like, my Aunt Amanda. It's just kind of funny, but I don't really remember, like, where it all started. I also remember one night watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was young.
Like, honestly, when it started for me, is like I said, like, it was with Halloween, because it was on TV or something, right. And it was my mom worked. I remember she used to work and didn't get off till like, I think like 11. So like she wouldn't be coming home for a while. I was done trick or treating. My grandpa's like, "Well, watch this movie. Like we'll be in there." Like they used to always play dice. So like they were playing dice or whatever, and like it started that. But then my mom was like so intrigued, like, "It didn't scare you? Right. You're not gonna have nightmares?" And I was like, "No." And then she was like determined to give me nightmares. Yeah. So it was like, we have to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then I watched that. That's a messed up movie, but shrug a little bit, you know, right. Like it was just kind of started the genre, and I was kind of liked it and wanted to watch more.
Right. I don't remember ever having. I remember having nightmares, but I don't remember ever thinking that my parents were gonna do anything about it. So like, it was like, to me, it was almost like watching movies was like watching scary movies was like, it was cool. So like, I remember watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a kid. But I only remember the part where, like, you see his, like, room, and it's, like, it's, like, a red wall with, like, antlers all over it, and then he, like, slams
the, like, weird door. Sliding door?
Yeah. That's all that I remember from watching it. Now, that I watched in South Haven, so I must have been at least 5 at that point.
I always remember, because I get creeped out when he has, like, a knife or something. The one guy that gets in the car and he, like, stabs himself. I remember that scene. Yeah. And then I always it's the ending scene when he's running out and she's running and the stupid fall. And then she gets up and he's got the chainsaw. And I don't know, just the whole... It's a classic horror movie. Like, it's got the vibe. Movie, but
like, the whole time I thought, like, Franklin was the worst. Like, he's got the worst case. Like, nowhere in there did I look and I was like, oh, yeah, he could easily, like, roll through there. He's the guy in the chair.
Oh, okay.
So he's like confined to a wheelchair, and their destinations include like a broke down house in the middle of the woods, and then like more woods, more broken down houses, and it's like, where are you supposed to go, Franklin?
They weren't falling 88.
No, definitely not. No ramps, nothing. I don't even think the doors were wide.
Well, I don't know, like, and then like that's what kind of creeped me out was like when they're stuck in the car, like they could all run out, but he couldn't. Like, and like that was like why I remember the anxiety of that scene, and like, oh, I'm kind of. It's not even. I was more worried for him. Like the rest of them could like, I'll just jump out this car and roll and pick up. All right, guys, good to going.
Is it in the Texas Chainsaw, or is it in Friday where there's the guy in the chair and he goes down all the steps?
That is in Friday. That they're in both.
That's what I thought.
But it's in Friday Part 2, and it's when they're at that. Because I always they're at like some camp and they try to say like, like he's disabled and it was like in an accident or something, and he used to be able to walk, and the
Yeah.
one girl's still like attracted to him. So they have the scene where like he's finally about to get laid, and they show her like, I'll never forget because I think it's absolutely disgusting. They show the girl like putting perfume, like opening up her underwear and putting some perfume on, and then she like walks up the stairs and he's like dead rolling down the stairs.
Well, yeah, because he gets what, like hit with an axe or something?
It was like right in the face, like doom, doom,
right.
boom, boom.
And Franklin just gets like, he just gets caught in the woods and chainsawed to death. That's rough. So
I guess the word to the wise, if you're in a, I don't think there is a survivor in a wheelchair in a horror film.
What about that Chucky movie?
You right.
The one that like just came out.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
I haven't watched all of it.
The cult one?
Yeah.
I thought it was
she
good.
She was in a chair, right?
Yeah, I kind of thought it was, yeah. As you said that, I'm like bringing up memories. You could be correct there.
Yeah, I don't remember how it ended, but I think she lived. I remember seeing her crawl, and Chucky doesn't typically like win in those movies. I don't think there's ever been like a movie like Chucky's always like still around, but he's never.
It's always like a. I get what you're saying. Like it almost you could say sometimes like how Michael Myers is, where he just disappears, where he's gone. But then sometimes they destroy him too. Because I always with Chucky. I swear, I always think of, like, the beginning of the first movie, never think of the second, and then, like, just go straight to the second. Like, I always think of them as almost, like, one movie.
Right.
So I always think of, like, when I think of Chucky, I always also think of him melting in plastic and, like...
Right. Is Halloween, that's your favorite scary movie, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Mine too.
Oh, yeah.
Mine too. I think it's, up until Trick or Treat came out, I think it's, like, the best Halloween...
I didn't like Trick or Treat. I think Trick or Treat is not a bad, but I had never got onto it as much as you did. Yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't like, I don't know, like Dead Silence or some other early 2000s or like, I don't know, I really like that Darkness Falls.
Sure.
Like from that area. Just, I liked it, but I just don't like is it anthology? Is that what I'm thinking for? I don't like that storytelling. I wish they'd stick to whatever story they were telling. And I liked all the stories they tell, and I like the way they come together. Like I said, it's not bad.
Right.
It just, I wish it was just one whole movie instead of it being like this anthology of a night.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's my favorite movie. Like, if you just presented that as, like, here's a scary movie, I don't think I would like it as much. But it's really the Halloween atmosphere of that.
Oh, yeah.
That I like a lot.
And I like, I mean, obviously, we all know you like the Sam, but I like Sam, like, and the characters that come, even the isn't it what... Vampires, right? Is the females that were like attracted, or were they werewolves? Okay, yeah. But I like it had like you said, it had that Halloween, the kind of funniness, the creepy, the Trick or Treat vibe. It had all those, so like it was a good. I mean, obviously it's called Trick or Treat. So.
Well, one of my favorite things ever that like I wish was real, and I wish our town did. It's really what I'm trying to like do is like you see it in a lot of movies, but that like Halloween festival.
I always think of at Halloween 6 when they have they're like, we're bringing Halloween back, ladies and gentlemen. Halloween is back. Michael Myers cannot end it in Haddonfield.
Right.
Like, it's kind of terrible thought though. Like, you know, these people died, and like after a few years, we're like, fuck those people. I'm sorry, but Halloween rules. You know, we gotta trick or treat. We gotta do our thing.
Have you watched any like documentaries on Halloween and stuff?
Not too much. It's just really that there is a lot that I want to, like I seen there was like a 20-year making or whatever I want to see, but no, the biggest thing I got would be that Netflix special they had.
I've watched a lot of them. Like, it gets to a point where like a lot of the stuff I hear is like repetitive. Like, I think it's interesting that like John Carpenter, I don't think I've ever heard him call him Michael Myers.
Normally The Shape.
That's what he always calls him.
Yeah.
The Shape. It's really interesting how he like describes Michael Myers.
Well, also Michael Myers, the actor, or Mike Myers, the actor, absolutely hates. Like, he can't stand it. Like, every time a new Mike, it's like, oh my gosh. But it's like, you know, it's Michael, and you're Mike Myers, Austin Powers, so it'll be okay.
Right. Yeah,
it was just a name. It was just a random name they picked, though. It wasn't
I thought it was like a producer.
Well, I didn't even heard that. I heard it was just a name. Like, it was just kind of supposed to be a random name.
I think it was someone that did something with Assault on Precinct 13.
They could have.
So John Carpenter did
some weird movies before
that. Assault on Precinct 13, and then he did Halloween. And I think Michael Myers was like a producer or something on Assault on Precinct 13. I'm pretty sure he was a guy in there. Because every other every other name in there is taken from like Psycho, like
Yeah.
Sam Loomis and not Jamie Lee Curtis, but like she's the daughter of.
Well, that's why they didn't even want to cast Lori at first because
Right.
like it's not like she was bad or nothing, but they were just like meh, and they're like, do you know who she's the daughter of?
Right.
Like, do you realize? And they're like, oh my god, she has to be casted like
Right.
instantaneously. Like
Right.
we know what she can do now.
Yeah, what's her name? Janet Lee.
Yeah.
I think is her mom's name.
Janet Leigh or Janet Lee, however it's pronounced.
Janet Lee.
I always laugh
from,
because she was in
Psycho.
Halloween H2O.
Right.
And she plays the secretary or whatever, and she's like, I just want to give you a little motherly advice. Well, you are my mother, so
Well, right.
I mean, go ahead and give me the advice.
And I think I told you, like, in that, it's actually the car. I don't know if it's the exact one, but it's the car that she drives in
in the
Psycho.
Okay.
And then when that scene happens, you can also hear the Psycho theme playing. It's not like just blatant like rah, 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 but it's like the kind of, you hear it in like the background almost. So little trivia for the next time that you watch that.
I still say, I think the music in that movie is phenomenal.
In
It's like
Halloween?
Halloween H2O.
Oh, H2O.
Just because it's like a full orchestra. It's not like
Okay.
not just the simple piano. Michael Myers, like John Carpenter, which is like the classic theme. Like his original theme is always going to be the best.
Right.
But that's like the one I just like because it's got, I don't know, violins and bass and piano to like a little flute doing the little parts, and I think it makes it a little creepier, gives it an updated vibe that I enjoy.
I just feel like, I don't know, man. Like, it's so hard. It's like, to me, the original Halloween is like hot apple pie and ice cream. Like, how much better can you get than hot apple pie and ice cream? It's just like simple. It doesn't have to be churched up, and it's just like,
and it's not.
It's just perfect.
And it's also like, it's all like, when you look back on it, not that incredibly gory,
Right?
Like that much language, and also the best part is as long as you're following the camera, there's leaves.
Yeah.
But I love watching across the street to like for how long and how many years I avoided the fact that they were in California. You could see palm trees in some scenes, and literally across the street there was no leaves. So you could, as we found out later on, they would rake up all the leaves for each scene and then like lay them back out as they would go. And they had like a total of, I don't know, like 5 pumpkins or something, a couple gourds that were just painted.
Right.
And then apparently John Carpenter, they're like, there's obviously the scene where Tommy Lee Wallace falls and like crushes the pumpkin, and it was like a few days into the shooting. All right, let's get this scene, and then they're like, do we really have to shoot the scene where he crushes the pumpkin right away?
Right.
Can we not use that pumpkin for a while?
Yeah. I found it like interesting how like John Carpenter, he always explains Michael Myers as like, or sorry, the shape as like a force of nature. Like, to me, that's just kind of cool. It's just like, it's such an interesting movie. Like,
well, even as you're like saying like a force of nature, like in the beginning, like when you get there and she pulls up and like, because Michael's not to be seen, like, or the shape is not to be seen. You don't know where he is, and then next thing you know, he's on top of the car trying to get in, and it's creepy, and she goes to the other side. And he pulls the wrench out of nowhere and slaps that window.
Right.
But it creates that like right away, and then he's driving the car, and then like I don't know, like even that opening scene, just like how did he get all those people out there? And you don't know. You don't even really hear out later on. It's just how did he release all those inmates where they all were just in the yard, and then you don't see, like the guards dead hanging when they show up. It just, they were out there. Like no one even realized. Like he's just like hurting them like he's a great shepherd. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it did really never explain that, like, why all those patients were out.
They tried to, with Rob Zombie's, like, they
Yeah.
tried to show him, like, releasing them, but in Rob Zombie's, the patients are so crazy, or so, like, with mental illness, that they were, like, stuck in their rooms in their own minds, that I don't think his movie, they had them a little different.
Right. I don't know. I love that, that idea that he's like a force. Like, he's really the first one that made up that whole, like, I walk, no matter how fast you run, I'm still there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That really, like, to me,
but
that
he also
really pushes that whole force of nature thing.
He wasn't one to just, like, they didn't just force, like, the walking. They did the disappearing thing. He was the one that also started that, where he would walk and it'd be gone. And, like you said, he never really has a quick pace. The only I say that, but If you are watching Halloween 6 and you notice towards the end, I swear Michael is like running in this hallway scene. It is bad. And it's like every time I watch it, I'm like, he does not run. He walks, okay?
Right.
You need to slow it down there, Michael. Slow it down.
Right.
But you're right. In that, especially in that original movie, though, there is no quick pace. It's slow. And they also, I like it's always about the ambiance. The way you can just barely see his mask, and the only reason you even know his mask is there is because you're so used to the way that the house lights up that when his shape appears there, when his shape appears, like it creeps you out. But you almost like look for that shape, and then it's gone. And as I'm gonna keep saying the word shape, maybe John Carpenter was onto something.
Right.
But it literally is like a shape that just appears and disappears, and it's what makes it so creepy. Also, that he doesn't react like when he gets stabbed or hurt. Like there's no like it's not like, oh, like, man, that really hurt. It's he falls over like you think he's dead, and he just slowly rises back up, pulls whatever has stabbed him out, and commences doing what he's doing. The only time you get a reaction is when the mask comes off,
right?
And that's when you hear like some grunting, like, ugh.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that, but that's so interesting. Like that's true. Just like the unstoppability of him, just like he just keeps coming no matter what.
Like literally, like you've knocked him down, but like I said, you don't even. When you knock someone down, you expect them to like a last grunt, a last sound, a last something, even an expression. But with that mask, there's no expression. It's constant silence. And I mean, besides for the breathing, but then like the breathing is also something he uses purposely too, because like it gets real quiet, and then you hear the
right,
and the as he starts rising back up, and like I'm up and going.
Right. I never noticed. It took me a long time to notice him driving around in the background.
Oh, that was something that it always used to. That was part of what creeped me out.
Yeah. Was
because I don't know. It was like little things, but like the big one that always gets me, and I always think about this: what could have ended Halloween? Like like there's scenes of like, I don't know, they show like a clip of a movie like Star Wars, and then it's just like, let's just not go to Tatooine, and then the Star Wars trilogy's over because they never pick up Anakin, stuff like that, where like you could do something very similar when Loomis is waiting to tell the sheriff that the department store's been broken into, and the alarm's going. He's looking like towards the department store waiting for the sheriff, and as like they pull up behind him, you see Michael turn, and he could have recognized that car right away, but he's not looking at the street. He's waiting for the sheriff, so his attention's elsewhere. But like if he would have just been turned around, and they do it for the movie's sake to give you that, and also to show you that he's been following them, you get a clear sight of him driving the car. So like it sets it up.
That's the only one I don't like. I actually do not like that part. So like every other one, he's like, it's creepy. You like see him driving around. It's just showing you that like he's present. But in that one, like it feels like slapstick because like you have
kind of
Dr. Loomis,
and he's literally like
as Michael.
No, he's like, we need to get Michael. The sheriff walks in. It's like that old school comedy, and then he's literally, and especially if you look at the scene, he does this like looking around, almost like, I'm going to look for Michael towards these department stores in case he's in there, as Michael's literally turning and driving past him, and also returning to the scene of the crime.
Right.
Because he had just broken into this however many hours ago to steal the mask and stuff that he's literally wearing on his face now.
The other ones I liked because like he's like always there, especially the ones where it shows him like in the car. It's almost from like his view, kind of.
Did they show him driving in 2? I want to say he like walked everywhere in 2. They just constantly showed him like walking
inside. What's he supposed to do?
No, because it starts outside, and then he finds out like there's like a radio program, and they say that like Laurie Strode's alive, and then they show like hospital like 10 miles, and then he was trucking. Or maybe no, I can't remember. I really can't.
Yeah, I don't remember either. You know what I don't like, or so this like trivia that they say about Halloween all the time, and I think I'm the only one that says like it's not true. They always say there's no blood in Halloween. They always say that. There's no blood. That you don't see any blood, and that's not true. Any of his kills that you see happen, you don't see any blood.
Yeah.
But when it shows you the shot of the driver that he killed, the...
Oh, there is blood on the sheets.
Mechanic?
Yeah.
There's like blood on him and stuff.
Yes.
So there is blood in Halloween.
Also, there's... I don't know what the actress name is, but Judith Myers in the beginning.
Sure.
There's blood on
her.
Because... I don't want to be a guy here, but those were nice. Those were tits. And then she definitely was splashing. But I heard later on, when I heard like the making of the movie, they were literally like over her with a paintbrush,
really,
like hitting her like with paint to like give it that blood effect. So that's why as like but it's supposed to be like as he stabs,
right,
the blood's like pumping and so like it makes sense. But like you'll like notice. But that's where I can think of blood. As soon as you were saying that, it's like the only thing I could think of actually. But you're right on the mechanic and like the tow truck, because I do remember like those sheets being, and they don't show that kill. It's like another almost like he's a force. Like he found like it. I wish he would have been in the tow truck and wouldn't have kept me in the one car. But they just do it more of him getting the uniform to get out of the whites and get out of, so he doesn't look like he's an escape patient.
That's another part I love, is just the like simplicity of his costume. Like it makes it not look like a costume to me. Like whatever it is, when I'm watching that movie, it doesn't register to me that he has a mask on. Like also because turns into his face. I never think like what is because under that mask. Honestly,
the way the daytime is, the mask, and there's some pale people out there. You know, like you'd have to second look it. It's almost passable, and that's what also makes the creepiness of it, especially when he's outside of the school, like when he's sitting there, like what? Because it's like that's off. You know, that's too white. That's too like what is that? And then before she can even, you know, when she's talking about fate or whatever, and she turns back, Michael's gone.
Right.
Or the shape.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I love that just that whole thing, man. Like the way that I think I've learned more about horror from John Carpenter than anyone else. Like
I would have to say Wes Craven as well.
You think so?
The Hill Have Eyes,
to me,
Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, those are all three big horror franchises that I always have really liked. But John Carpenter will always be the start for me.
Whenever I watch John Carpenter like talk, he seems like he enjoys what he's doing. Wes Craven, like I always got the feeling, right? The feeling I get from Wes Craven was like he does horror movies because he's like a basketball player that can't help but be good and just doesn't want to do it anymore.
It's about that vibe, because he did the Hills Have Eyes back in the 78
I think where
late
he
70s.
started was in porn.
Say it one more time, sorry.
I think Wes Craven, I remember reading something, and I think it was about Wes Craven, and his first films were like 1960s like exploitation, like porn films.
They could have been. I don't know too much on him, because like I said, I just watched the Friday documentary.
Yeah.
I just can't get over. I don't know. Like we're gonna make this movie. I had this guy who used to bully me. I saw this guy the sweater, and
if you think about his first movie, it's not that far off from porn. Last House on.
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that too. Oh my God, another one. Last House on the Left. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's all about these guys that break in and brutally assault a woman, and then they get their
absolute vengeance and absolute just due.
Right.
Disgusting.
Oh yeah.
Just like I hate those. There's another one that's very I'm trying to think of it. There was another one with a very similar scenario where they go after a woman, and then like the woman goes after like the rest of them. Like they rape a woman in the woods. Oh, I can't think of what the movie's called, but like she gets her vengeance back on him. But it's a similar concept to like The Last House on the Left.
There's a like that. I mean,
I Spit on Your Grave.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's the movie I was thinking of, and I hate that movie. But the only good part of that movie is she gets to kill all those guys. But that movie it ends, and I was just like, I never wanted to watch it again. It was like a one time, and I was like, okay, I thought that wasn't what I was looking for.
Well, like that's not what you want to see.
Exactly.
It's not. If it makes you uncomfortable, that's not, like Saw makes you cringe sometimes.
You saying Saw just makes me. So if you ever never seen Saw, and somehow you've never seen Saw, I'm going to teach you a story you can play so you can seem like a genius, and you get a group of people that somehow have never seen Saw. My grandpa, he was like, oh, you need to see this movie Saw. So my mom was like, he's like, and to make like an interesting game of it, try to figure out who the killer is when you're watching that movie. And if you don't remember, in the original movie, they don't show the killer. It's just all from like in the room and like flashbacks and stuff like that. So like we're all guessing who could the killer be. Well, then it ended up getting late. My mom was like, it's getting late. We'll finish this tomorrow. So, like, we'll go to bed and we'll watch this tomorrow night. Well, I was all excited. I went to school and I'm talking about it. And they're like, oh, well, spoiler alert if you've never seen Saw. The guy on the floor gets up at the end and
right.
he's the killer. And you don't expect the guy that's been dead the whole movie to be the killer.
Right.
And so, like, I was sitting there and I have no idea who this killer could be. I guess the dead guy in the ground. I was like, why would you pick the dead guy? I don't know. So that's who you should pick. And we get to the end of the movie, my mom's like, there's no way you knew it was the dead guy. I'm like, my grandpa's like, so did anyone guess it right? No one got it right. I'm like, she's like, Jimmy got it right. He's like, how the hell did he get it right? I'm just, I don't know. I just, pretty good with horror movies, Kind of do the shady eye that I do, left to right. And
well, that's what, I mean, to bring it back to Halloween, I've told you this, like, that's what I think is one of the scariest things about Halloween. I think Halloween is one of the scariest movies when you look at it on its own. Because you got to take it in context. Because you don't know that they don't introduce that he's related to Laurie Strode until Halloween 2.
Yep. No,
so
at this point, he's just I've always liked at the end of the day, the working title for the movie was Babysitter Killers. It wasn't, he's not going after a significant loved one, and they've even tried to push that with the newer movies now, where they've completely cut those ties. And granted, those ties are cool, but it limits Michael. Michael's not gonna, like, honestly, at the end of the day, it made, what it did was because when that movie came out and you go to that setting, everyone's house unlocked, you go to Halloween, it kind of creeped you out, the idea of a guy walking around just going house to house killing. Then you get to the second one and they're like, don't worry. As long as you're the sister, as long as you're related, then you're fine. So, like, I'm not related to Michael. The whole point of making Haddonfield was to make a generic town, to give you that vibe for, like, Midwesterners and stuff like that. So when you're in your suburbs and stuff like that you would get that vibe that he could just be going house to house. But then, once again, I'm not related to Michael Myers. There's nothing to be afraid of. Right. Now they've gotten rid of that, and then, like you said, if you look at from just the first point, he's just going house to house. He happens to run across Lori, and the only reason it was because she walks up to put the key in the door because her dad asked her. It's the only reason he even got started on her.
Well, that's what I think is so scary. I think that is so scary. That's why I think, like, the two scariest movies, like, if you look at them from a real, like, standpoint, obviously, like, yeah, it's scary if aliens invade. Sure, it's scary if demons are real. But, like, what is real is, like, a crazy person coming in your house for no reason to murder you. You did nothing wrong. And that's where, like, there's, like, two movies that I can kind of think of that, like, achieve that. And that's, like, Halloween and The Strangers. And, like,
I was thinking that literally,
yep. Yeah, The Strangers brings that up. And I think that's the best line in that movie and possibly one of the scariest lines in, like, horror. Where, like, they're like in the house, they're finally inside, and they've got the people, and the people are crying. They're like, "Why are you doing this?" And that girl just says, "Because you were home." That is so freaking scary. Just the idea that you did nothing wrong, you didn't bring this upon yourself in any way, and just someone decided that it's your time to die. That is so scary. Every other killer, like Leatherface, killed people that came to his house. Fucking Jason killed people that came to his house.
His woods.
Right.
But, I get what you're saying. It's always the only one where you took him home was another one would be, like, I always think of, like, Chucky. It's something he's brought to your house, or like a demon movie. But I get what you're saying. Most killers, you normally head to their location for that to happen. Where that movie, it's another scenario of just randomness.
Right.
Saying that movie, though.
On and on. Like, The Exorcist, she used a Ouija board, she brought a demon in.
Did that happen in The Exorcist?
Yeah, if you pay attention, that's how the demon gets in.
It's been a long time.
If you pay attention, she's got a Ouija board in her basement.
Okay.
And then she calls the demon, the name that she uses is Captain Howdy. And she actually tells her mom that it was actually, like, talking to her. And then she tries to make it talk to her mom, and her mom thinks it's just like a game. But then later on, after she has the whole demon in her and stuff, and possibly the most vulgar part of the whole movie where she, like, is using the crucifix to, like, stab herself, and she grabs her mom's head and tells her to lick me and all that stuff, she slaps her mom and says, "Do you know what she did? your cunting daughter, and he's talking about like she used the Ouija board. She brought me in here, so she opened up that portal.
Okay.
But then like Scream, it's not just a random killer that's going around killing anybody.
Yeah,
it's all about
someone they know.
Well, it's not just that. The whole plot line is about Sydney's mom.
Yeah, it's about getting revenge on, because Sydney's mom's
was like a whore
and his dad and his parents split up, so then his life is shit, and him and the friend or something like that.
Right.
And then the second one was kind of a similar thing, but it was...
it basically all just boils down... Like, I was talking to Jacob about this, because he loves those. Like, I haven't really watched the Scream movies.
I did recently this year, because I told you I watched it during Halloween.
I just don't like it, because, like, he gets his ass kicked the whole movie.
He does, but it's also, that's like a big part of like every scary movie, the killer is unstoppable.
Right.
You can't stop this killer. In Scream, he falls down the stairs, the knife falls out of his hands, but it's also in like, it's never like where you feel like she's triumphant though, where like she's like gonna win. It's more of like she's just avoiding the inevitable. Like eventually she's still gonna get stabbed, but that kick is gonna give her 3 minutes more time, and that's what Scream eventually is. And then that's what each scene is. It's almost them sprinting to the next scene until they run into someone else that causes the killer to divert away. Normally it's Scream's known for you run into, they run open the door and the reporter's waiting at the door, the cops waiting at, someone's waiting there, and they get spooked or whatever, and it's like the killer's right behind me and he disappeared.
Right. I don't know. That's my problem. I have a hard time feeling bad for someone that brings that stuff upon themselves. Like, if you go to Camp Crystal Lake, like, ooh, we heard 100 kids have died here.
I agree. I agree on that. Especially, like, I don't know. You look at, I don't even like ranting, because Friday the 13th is not my favorite franchise. Everyone loves, as me and you have kind of discussed before in our views, everyone loves this view of Jason, but no one no one loves
watched it.
No one's like, but no one has like a Jason they love. They all just want this big towering hockey mask.
It's an amalgam of all of them.
But yes, that's what yeah. But no one wants the weird. Also, another thing, as I was thinking about this, like a big difference, going back to Halloween and talking about Friday, is like in Friday, the only reason Jason went bad is because he saw his mom like he died or supposedly died or drowned and hid off in the woods for years, making his mom think he was dead. And then
aged 20 years overnight.
Overnight, or over a few years he aged. But as he's watching his mom and not going and talking to her, he's just socially awkward, he gets her head cut off and sees his mom kill all these people, and he's like, oh, I need to kill these counselors, and it's like, that's why I'm killing, because they shouldn't be here, and my mom taught me, mommy. But yet there was nothing with that with Halloween. Michael Myers just killed for no reason at all. His parents were shocked. You don't even see his parents anymore. Right. He goes to a mental facility, and then when the movie starts, he's just killing. There's no reason to it. Where, like, as you said, though, in Friday the 13th, it always comes down to just don't go to Camp Crystal Lake. Even the second movie, it's so dumb because they're, like, next to it, and they try to say they're, like, on the other side of the lake. And then there's a certain, line. Don't cross that line. They show the kids crossing the line. They show them going there and then him coming over. So it's like you constantly say, that they asked for it, whereas you don't ask. In Halloween, there was no one that asked to be killed. Maybe the kids did but at this point, he was already onto him. When they call, speeding kills, and he, stops the car real quick. But at that point, he was already chasing him. He was already onto him. He had already been following Lori all day. So them calling him out, like you said, it almost kind of like in Scream. It just stops the inevitable. It gets her, go away, or whatever it is. But they end up dying no matter what.
Who was asking for it? The kid in H2O that walks in that lady's house, and he's wearing a Jason mask. He's got a hockey stick.
Oh my gosh!
Walks in the house.
You know who that is, though? Do you know who that is? Right?
I don't remember his name, but yeah, I do. He's in Inception and stuff.
Yes. I'm gonna call. He wasn't Batman. He was a terrible version of Robin they had in.
Oh, that's a nice name.
Yeah, that's a nice name. Don't even get me started on my bat rants. But yeah, I can't think of his name. But that was, it's gonna kill me. I had his name too, but yes, that's him, and he's really young too.
Right.
And it's but he's 100% asking for it. And he steals beers.
Oh yeah.
They go there and wreck her kitchen. If you remember,
Yeah.
they don't even
destroys her kitchen.
I don't even know if they actually checked the whole house out. Like they show him go in, they like beeline, like they already knew where her kitchen was. They beeline straight to the kitchen. Oh, she's not gonna notice 4 beers are good. Now, granted, if my house got broken into, and I sent some kids in, I'm not gonna be like, oh, those kids drank the beers. I'm gonna be like, that damn robber drank 4 beers when he robbed my house.
That's what he said. He walked out because he there was like a mouse. And he destroys all the pans with his hockey stick, and he goes, they really screwed up.
It wasn't even like
kitchen.
a mouse. He walks in and there's like a gleam in the light because
Right.
it's hanging pans, and he smacks them and they all just come falling down.
Right.
And then he just grabs the beers and walks, and you can hear him like clink, clink, clink. I've never noticed I never noticed that until rewatching an adult, but you can 100% just hear those bottles clinking in this saggy flannel shirt as he
Right.
walk. You're all clear to go. And I swear to you, it looks like he walked in the house, went to the kitchen, messed up her kitchen, grabbed some beers and dipped. He
Right.
didn't actually even check the rooms out. Doesn't really matter because I want to say Michael goes and kills them next, isn't it?
Yeah, he gets a ice skate in his face.
Yeah. And then the cops show up and they go in her house, and it's as she's running from Michael, and she runs to next door, you need to help me, and he sees him at the ice skate,
Right.
And she's the cops are going into her house now as she breaks the window. It's a great opening, it really is. Then it shows him just peeling off now that he's got his info on Lori. And
Well, what's cool about that is I think she calls the cops.
do you know?
But she calls the cops. They show up at her house.
Yep.
Then she runs next door.
Yep.
And dies next door.
Yep, and she actually she's yelling and breaking
Right,
on the glass, and they're but they're oh, there's broken glass here on her house, and
Right.
they're looking at stuck on her house, and then later on when they show when they walk out, they do point at look at there's broken glass over there, so they go right to the house as Michael's pulling out.
Right. That's sick.
Right.
So, let's talk about it. Halloween 3.
I recently finally rewatched it this year because I kept telling you I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Need to watch it. I finally rewatched it. It just needs to be on its own.
It really does.
If it was just Season of the Witch. But then again, it's kind of creepy too. I've just got to say it. As I've gotten a little older, and then you watch these types of movies, I don't like that they cast this 50-year-old guy to go with this 20-year-old woman.
Yeah,
and
I don't think he was that old, man.
He just looks
I keep hearing them, every time I watch something about that, everyone talks about how hot he was, and I think it's a joke, but he looks old.
He looks so old to me.
But when was that movie made? 1980?
80s,
well, this
yeah.
motherfucker's still alive. That was 40 years ago.
And it just also...
He couldn't have been 50
He just
then.
has the classic porn stash vibe to me. That's really what it comes down to. It's this older dude with this wavy, curly brown hair.
He looks like?
What?
He looks like Brandon's dad.
I have not.
Brandon's dad looked just like that.
Yeah, that'd creep. Especially if you have the creepy porns. I don't know. And then he just goes after the young girl. Like I said, I don't know their ages, but it just that vibe's weird. But the storyline, ignoring everything else and what's going on in just the story,
right?
It's cool, and I like that it's Irish too. I like it's this Irish cult that's trying to get back and
well, because that's the roots of Halloween.
Yeah, and
is all the Celtic stuff.
Well, I thought that was fascinating. The whole, honestly, I think the masks are cool.
Do you know what I don't like about that? How the fuck did they steal a piece of Stonehenge and bring it to California?
Yeah, I've when I watched that, I thought the same thing, and then no one noticed.
First off, Stonehenge is in Scotland.
And it's
Ireland,
huge.
One of the two. Yeah, and it's huge. And they're buried in the ground. You would have had to excavate them,
but
transport them across the ocean, and then transport them across the continental United States.
But say you had, and we done that, it would have been huge news. People go to Stonehenge all the time. And it was yeah, one of the henges is gone, but no big deal.
It was one news story. It was one story on the news. A piece of Stonehenge just disappeared. If you want proof of aliens, that's about it. If it was broken on the ground, okay, maybe someone went out there and messed with it. Even that'd be impressive. But for it to just be gone, it's just gone. That's if you showed up and the Washington Monument was gone. And you're so it just disappeared, no one saw it?
Just part of the wash. Just take a corner.
Right.
Just take a corner, no one will notice.
Right. But no, I think that movie, I've said forever, I think they should just rename it to Halloween Season of the
Or
Witch.
or just Season of the Witch. It's where if it was its own movie, I think it wouldn't get the hate it gets. Because everyone still at the end of the day watches it and expecting to see the third appearance of Michael Myers, the third appearance of the Shape. They don't get that. They don't get anything. The only thing, well, they do. The Shape is in the movie. I stand corrected.
Right.
He's on the TV screens.
Well, I think watching that and hating it, it's like if you started with Halloween 1978 and you just started watching every movie that says Halloween.
Oh, and
then you were like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. What, he's a kid again? How's he a kid again? No, dude, they rebooted it. Oh, and now Laurie Strode's not. They're not brother and sister, and now they are. I thought she was dead. Wait, that's his daughter. Like, you're not getting it, dude. Like, that movie's clearly not a Halloween movie. It shows Halloween the movie in that movie. And, like, I think it is a good Halloween movie.
Yeah, like a Halloween genre movie, not the franchise or whatever. But yeah, no, I agree. But I don't know. Like I said, I would enjoy it more as like we all. That's my final statement. If it was cut away, but when you call it Halloween 3, there's just this. Even when I go to put it on, you almost hope that they mention something like, oh, maybe the doctor's from Smith's Grove, or something like that, where there's some type of mention. But the only mention really is the movie that plays.
Well, because it's not even supposed to take place in the same
world
universe. Like, it's just not. That story was over. Like.
Yep.
Michael Myers got shot in both eyes and blown up.
Well,
that movie was over.
Halloween was done with the first one. It did so well that they brought back the second, which I always laugh about. When you see which we should bring up in the second movie, it's not white. It doesn't even. The mask doesn't. It's probably the worst looking mask.
Right.
Halloween 2 is probably, in my opinion, the hair is a little off and the eyes.
Kind of bad.
They do. Some of them are better, some of them are worse, but the 2 is just, it's yellow. It's just because you got to think, it's supposed to be an hour later.
Right.
It's that night. It's not a couple years. If it would have been 1 year later, it would have been okay, but it's not. It's literally right afterwards, and it's not. The mask is a completely different, it's not even a completely different mask. It's just Deborah Hill, rest in peace, who helped make that movie. They said she was a chronic smoker, and also this is something that helped with movies and something that they do now, which they used to not. You got to plan for a sequel. You got to keep the stuff they're wearing. If a killer's wearing a mask and that's what's made the movie, you got to keep that mask. That's something that Halloween has constantly, why Halloween's masks have never looked right is because they didn't save that original mask. They thought it was nothing. They literally turned it into, which we know as Halloween, as haunted house people, you can't have latex folded like that. She had it folded, and she was a chronic smoker. That's why it had a little yellow. It was based in nicotine. So, like, now, like you said, and then you made a good point, though. Every movie's, there's something wrong with the mask. It's either not, like, the neck's too short, the eye holes are too open, sometimes the hair is just too messed up. The recent ones I thought have been pretty spot on. I have liked it. The newest one that was okay, but it was supposed to show that burning. So then like, some people didn't like the newest mask, and I've heard complaints, but it reminded me of if you took a flame and held a flame next to latex, it would, like, bubble and drip, and then it would look nasty afterwards. It would still keep that form unless you, like, blasted it, unless you really but he wasn't that close to the heat. He was just close enough to do as I just explained, where it would dribble and go. So, I don't know, but you make a good point. Every movie, the mask is always, it's never just right.
Well, see, and I don't even understand how they mess it up every time. Like, they just made, I think this just happened in, like, October. Like, Tommy Lee Wallace, who was the original, I don't know if he did props or makeup.
It was all, they were like a family of 20 that made Halloween, and Tommy Lee Wallace did a bunch. The one, I don't know who it is exactly. One of his,
a recast. Not of a Michael Myers mask.
It's of the William Shatner. I've seen that because I've seen him make that.
He converted it in this video to a Michael Myers mask using the same paints.
It was a paint scheme, and he changes the hair. He colors the hair, paints the face. Yep, takes the eyebrows, the expression,
sideburns off.
Yep.
And then he spray painted it the same way, messed it up the same way, made it exactly the same, and it looked perfect. Why can't you do that?
I don't. It also could be. It's another thing of, like, how we talked earlier. Michael Myers, the actor, hated Halloween. Not that, like, it's a bad movie. Just hated that there was someone there's a serial killer who uses his name. William Shatner could not stand it. They used his but you didn't. I didn't see it. I've never seen it until recently when I seen that video you're talking about with Tommy Lee Wallace. I had never seen The Mask, and seeing The Mask, that is the most hideous mask I've ever. But that's also it's Star Trek, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not a Star. I don't think it's a Star Trek. It's from a movie where I don't know
Mask
what
have come
the
a long
movie
way.
is, but in the movie, William Shatner doesn't have any eyes. So, like, there's a whole part where he's got this, like, makeup on, and he doesn't have any eyes, and it's the 1970s, so the makeup doesn't look great.
Even that,
it's all caked on and
the
shit.
latex mask of that time,
Right.
seeing the Shatner man, or, whatever, I know who he is, and seeing that man, it's just like, whoa. But that also explains how big and weird the eyes looked originally before they cut them and stuff.
So Tommy Lee Wallace actually trimmed the eyes out.
No, I know.
It's interesting watching him trans.
I'm saying the mask beforehand, the eyes, the way you're explaining with that character, I'm saying that's why the mask looked the way it did.
Right.
But it's still, I didn't really see William Shatner in it. But then again, I'm not used to young William Shatner. Sorry, we're younger. I'm used to how older William Shatner looks, and that's kind of how when I think of William Shatner. So I don't know of his younger appearance and if that mask compared it to it.
Right. What was interesting to me in Halloween 3 was...
Before we move on, I just got to say, did you also see the clown mask that they used?
No.
They originally had some weird clown mask.
Yeah, I did see that.
And it was supposed to be, because the concept was...
That Emmett Kelly mask, I think.
Well, and it was all supposed to be that they thought that, since he did the clown mask when he was a kid, that he would do a clown mask in his adult. So that's what they did it as. And they said... That's scary, that's creepy.
Right.
But the expressionless face, and especially what Carpenter was really trying to push, this shape, this force, this is like we talked about earlier. So when they actually used that mask, that's when like it all came to go, and like, okay, that's the mask.
Yeah. I also think every time I watch that, so like I've been on, shoots of videos and promos and music videos and shoots of professional photos, and I've been there, and I always think like some of these directors, I think they're full of shit. Like I think a lot of stuff on set, especially when you're making a low budget movie, is just done with what do we have available? Like, how can we achieve this right now? We have no money, we have no time, we have to shoot today.
That's literally Friday the 13th to a nutshell.
That's what I'm saying.
You watched him play Monopoly.
Right, but then afterwards, like, everyone tries to, like, oh, no, we planned it from day one. It was always Monopoly, and it's supposed to symbolize, shut the fuck up. You're full of shit, dude. Just tell us, no, we didn't have any money, and some dude had it in his car, and we said we need something.
That was how... They were quick to admit it, I feel like, with the horror genre. Like,
yeah.
I feel like a movie comes out today and they had a scene like that. So I'm going to use, like, Harry Potter, and they had a scene where, like, they were, laughing, having fun. And it ended up being, whoa, there was a lot of character build in that moment. Right. The directors would just be like, I planned that. Yeah. That's why I put that scene in the movie. Not acknowledging that it was just, I didn't really know what to put here, and it was more of a space filler.
Right.
And 100%. But I feel like old horror films were kind of quick to... They were literally all just trying to make a buck.
Right.
That's all they were trying to do. And it was kind of funny because, like, you had Halloween and it has a bunch of rip-offs on it. Then when Friday the 13th came out, there was a bunch of camp... Every horror film had its own rip-off. And at the end of the day, that's what... I'm not sorry for the Friday the 13th fans. That's why that movie came to be, was... They saw how good Halloween was, and they're like, I want to make something similar. I want to make a horror film and kind of start a franchise.
Right. Well, I'm curious. So, like, there's a few, like, rumors about Halloween. Like, it was the first slasher, which it was not. It was the first holiday-based. It also was not. Because Black Christmas came out before Halloween did. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, came out before... They both did.
Yeah, it was like 74, I want to say early.
Very early. It was almost like 1960s.
And the Texas Chainsaw wasn't made as like a horror film. It was supposed to put, like, more of made to like put you on edge. Like the anxiety and like the car ride in the beginning, like we talked about earlier, that car ride in the beginning, and like even the scene at the end, it's supposed to, her falling, it's supposed to build that anxiety and just to be an all out like crazy movie, like this crazy. And at the time,
I really like that movie.
See, I do. It just maybe it's also the. I don't know. I also love the original. They're not the original. The remakes.
I love the remake.
That's another. It's a hard take where I can say I normally prefer. I actually prefer the remakes, but I still have a love for the originals.
Right. I don't know. Like,
honestly, I thought all the remakes in the 20th century, my opinion, as I'm like going through them, all of them from Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw. I liked all of them.
I think all of them that were done to try to update these movies were good. I think granted I don't really like the old one, but Poltergeist sucked.
I didn't see that one, but I remember you went and seen that when we were working at the Great Escape.
I can't think of any other like remakes. They've remade Black Christmas again. I didn't watch it, but I heard it wasn't good.
It was okay. It was okay. I didn't think it was.
They've remade that twice.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs it. I don't think it needs to be remade twice. The first one was scary. The next two, the first remake got very incesty. And the new remake, I don't know what it was all about. I didn't watch it. So, but like the Texas Chainsaw, I absolutely agree with you. I think the remakes are fantastic.
Even that prequel movie was good too. The beginning.
It was okay.
I didn't like it as much. The original's still better, but I still liked it too. Just setting up that background, that lore, and like I was already interested. I don't know. I wanted more. The way they did that movie was just well done. Just
I think that stuff came from like Platinum Dunes.
Was it?
I think so, and I want to say that's Michael Bay. I think that's his studio is Platinum Dunes.
Interesting.
And I think he's the one that brought about, not Halloween, but he brought about Texas Chainsaw and Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, the remake, I thought was another phenomenal movie.
I think that is the second best Jason.
That's probably honestly, it's probably my favorite Jason, and it has the bag, has the hockey
Freddy
mask.
Vs. Jason is my favorite Jason.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected because I will agree with you. He is phenomenal in that movie.
I think scary.
Yep.
I never
like the way
when his
look.
mask was all like fucked up, where it gets broken out on like his jaw toward like Jason Takes Manhattan, where he's been dead for so long. Like I think it's cool that they're adding it up that like he's been beat up, but like I like it when there's like some damage and stuff. But I like my Jason to look like Jason, and I thought that Jason was real scary. He was a powerhouse.
He was good. What was neat too was they had the creepy face underneath, but it wasn't like
his hair.
I did too, but it wasn't like you said, because they showed him buried in the ground beginning of the movie, so it wasn't like even his skin, like it didn't look like my skin or your skin. It looked like something that was shriveled up, that was dried. It was literally gray, and it was because it was buried in the ground. It was rotten flesh. Like it looked, like you said, his hair was like a tuft of hair in the top. He looked great. He looked menacing. The way he never moved quick, like we talked about earlier. We hate the fast. If you're gonna make him slow, might as well make him slow. He never appeared quick. Even the scene. This is where the problem is where they have the kids sprinting, and they have the killer walking. The kid should get distance. That's the whole point of them sprinting, him walking. But the point is that they run in a direction where he mingles and he hits them. And they did that real well. It's the creepy scene where they have the one guy raping her, but like they're having I've lived in a town I've never gone and partied in a cornfield, and I've lived next to cornfields my whole life, but they have the party in the cornfield, and all the kids like sprint out and they like drive away immediately, but like I like that scene too. He just slowly appears, and they have him like he's not quick, he's like slowly has a machete in the air, like it's nothing like sudden movements, but he's powerful.
We laugh about that part all the time when he like walks up on those guys and that dude's like, "What's up, Jethro?" and he's like, "We're having a party and you're not invited," and he spins that dude's head around, and then the guy just throws beer on him and lights him with like a tiki torch, and then he's on fire and just pulls his blade out,
just walks, bro, just slow, like, I'll get you.
Yeah, I like that, dude.
I did
Freddy
too.
vs. Jason was an awesome movie.
A very good movie.
For as much of it as it was a cash grab, it was a good movie.
No, I thought it was well written, well planned, and it gave kudos to both characters.
Well, they brought in everything that you want. If you're a Jason fan, they brought in creative kills when he brutally murders that dude on the bed.
Yep, that's what I
And
was
just
thinking of.
stabs his machete through him all these times, and you
And it
see like
flips it.
the fluff and the guts coming out of the bottom, and then just sticks it in the ground and bends his ass up.
I'll never forget the way
That's
that
fucking brutal.
I'll never forget the way that guy treated that girl though. Like he said there,
Right.
like, go get me a beer. Like they get done having sex. He's like, you smell. Like, go get in the
Right.
shower.
He was horrible.
He was absolutely terrible. Like like you talk about like, oh, they had it coming. That guy had it coming.
For sure. He said like something to the like extent of like, let's go upstairs and fuck. And then he's like walking, he's like, hey, don't make me tell you again. And it's like, what the fuck?
No, the
I
best
hope
is,
you die.
The best is when later on they show her all messed up and it goes to Freddy. He's like, what did I tell you? Don't make me tell you twice.
Well, yeah, because he's pretending he's got like the illusion of her dead boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I think like his head's all like fucked up. He's like, hey,
Hey.
don't make me tell you twice. He's like, what the fuck? You're following this zombie into the barn? But Freddy vs. Jason was awesome. But as far as like the Texas Chainsaw, dude, that's like one of my favorite scary movies. Like the remake of the Texas Chainsaw.
Well, the beginning sets that mood.
Sure.
That with like
Right.
the photos and also the based on a true story. We
Which
never
I guess
caught the
it
killer.
is, but it's
It is
bullshit.
literally the worst. I've had a look at on Ed
Ed Gein.
Thank you. And he was in what Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
and did not use a chainsaw.
Yeah, well, he didn't do any of that. What he did was, I mean, he
He
killed
made-
a bunch of
Women,
made
and then he would
suits
skin
and
them. But he
lampshades and
made.
shit.
That's what I'm getting to. It was more of like it wasn't really like a face or like it was more of like
No, it was.
like furniture and like it was, but there was other shit too. Where
Yeah,
like
he did that.
in Friday the Third, or sorry, in Texas Chainsaw, I don't normally see them use it for other stuff. Like they tried to show like them being cannibals.
I guess in the
But it's-
original one they did.
Did they? I didn't get
Because
that.
their whole house was like full of bones and shit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The weird
And
like
they had
nightshade.
like skull lamps and different shit, like skull chairs and stuff. So they did some in like the original one, but like the remake, I just like I don't know, dude. It was like a nightmare. It was like watching a nightmare.
Oh,
Like they show up in this place and like this house. You're like, that is the scariest house I've ever seen.
the salt on the wound to this day.
Yeah, it's messed up.
That still bothers me. Oh my god, he takes and it's like it's not even like my grandma just made some summer sausage and
Yeah.
you have to use a curing salt to make it, and
Sure.
that is literally like that curing salt. What it looks like before she like adds. That's what it looks like. It looks like he probably was curing salt because they are wanting to cure the meat because they want to eat the food.
Do you know who's like Leatherface? All that, he's scary. But do you know who's the best part of those remakes? Sheriff Hoyt.
Oh, he was terrifying.
Arlie Aramy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what a character, dude.
He was terrifying, especially because you would almost like look to him like, oh, safety's here, and then he's like dragging you back in the house, like, look, we got one running, I got her, don't worry.
Well, he was like the scariest part, dude. Like some of the
'cause he
scariest
controlled him.
parts were when he was in there, and he was like so nasty. But so it's like also like you can kind of believe that he's a cop, maybe in this like this backwards ass fucking Texas
no one else
town.
to tell him.
Right, he's the
There's-
whole law.
yeah.
I liked that in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the prequel
Yeah,
where he
that's why I like the beginning
kills
or whatever.
the one cop and he goes,
Yep,
he goes,
I'm the sheriff now. Or
he
something
goes,
like
I
that.
just killed the whole fucking sheriff's department. And then he puts on all his stuff and he's like, it's Hoyt now. I mean, that was brutal. You know what? I do like that movie. I don't like the kids in that movie as much as I like them
No, I
in
don't.
the first one.
I don't either. Like I said, the kids don't, but I just like seeing that building of the world, the sheriff take over so they can start doing it, the factory closing down and Leather not having anywhere to go, him starting to
Right.
them, we don't have any food, and that's what they try to like push more in the remakes.
I think that's one of the scariest parts also is like the idea. So like when they're like running away, right? Like she runs away and then she shows up at those other people's houses
that are in on it.
There's that like
The
real
the
big
old
there's
yep.
that big fat lady and then
Yep.
the skinnier one that She had like short hair, and
Yep.
they have a baby, and it's like, dude, that's scary. Because, like, you thought you got away, you got to the closest people, you're like trying to tell them, and then it's like, how far do I have to go before these people's reach isn't there anymore?
Well, that's what, like, then also right away when, your car breaks down and the sheriff's pulling you over and you think the sheriff's coming, the sheriff in on it, the tow truck in on it.
Well, they didn't break down. They picked up the hitchhiker. The hitchhiker shot herself, and then they went to the gas station and said, "We need help." Now, my first red flag would have been when she's like, "He wants you to meet him at this old fucking mill." No. He can meet me right here, or I'm going to leave this dead body in your gas station, and it's your problem. I'm in the middle of Texas.
Have you ever... I just have to say it.
Knows what.
Obviously, they've never seen National Lampoon's Vacation. Have you seen National Lampoon? I was about to say, you put Aunt Edna on the roof, and you keep on driving. Put an umbrella on top. You keep on forgetting. Get to the nearest stop. You put her there. Oh, hurrah. I'm sorry, that's absolutely. But no, I wouldn't be driving. I wouldn't even drive that car anymore. I'd be done. Right. You want to buy it? $500. I'll take your shit old truck, man. There's brains in the back of there.
I think I was watching something where it's like implied. So like,
okay, another thing I have to say though, just saying on this, I can drive. You know this, but I can drive a manual transmission.
Yeah.
I do know how to shift gears. This is from watching horror films. For whatever reason, every time they're getting into, like, especially like in that movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they get in some old truck.
Right.
It's like a stick.
Yeah.
And then, like, the girl always just knows how to drive the stick. And I'm always like, at the time, I don't know how to drive a stick. So when I'm being chased by some crazy guy in a chainsaw, I need to know how to do this. So then, like, I learned, I was like, all right, well, I'm set to go to Texas at some point, because at least if I'm running from a killer.
Well, that movie also, it's not like stated explicitly. You have to use like some context clues, but it takes place in like the 70s.
Oh yeah, and at that time
because they're going to a Leonard Skinner concert.
Yep,
that's the whole the backstory.
Also, back in the day,
they went to Mexico and then they're coming back.
My grandma talks about she trained on a stick was how she got her learner's permit, because like more vehicles used to be manual, and then as we got into later in years, the automatic became a bigger fashion.
Right. Yeah, that movie is terrifying. It's like. But it's something is implied that so the baby that those people have later on, I think something I watched said that it's like implied that baby is the baby of the hitchhiker that they actually pick up, because she's got like a bunch of blood like in her legs and stuff, and like how much bad stuff would you have had to go through? So like they clearly kept her alive for something, because she was alive. And, like, I think it's implied that she was kept alive for, like, breeding purposes.
Could have been.
And, like, how much hell would you have had to go through that simply when they drive the other way that you were walking from, you would rather blow your own head off than go back?
Or just you can't get those images of what they did out of your head.
Yeah. Can we talk about that shot for a moment? Where she shoots herself, it blows the back window out, and then the camera starts in the van on everyone, goes through her mouth, through the hole in her head falls back, and then out the window. That is an awesome shot. And that was like 2004, dude. CGI wasn't real big at that point. That was a cool shot.
Well, a lot of that stuff is, as I'm staring at your Sorcerer's Stone poster.
Right.
Back in the day when they had the entrance hall and they have the floating, candles in Harry Potter, they literally just had fishing wire and candles and 100 candles, and they talked about it was great until halfway through the shoot, and also there was just raining candles everywhere. But that's why, CGI is a great thing now.
Right.
Yeah. But no, that is, but it's great. It's a great one. I liked Rob Zombie's. I don't even want to talk about it second. I can't. I watched the second one, and I don't. I get that there's a cult following. It's just, I don't.
You know what I heard?
It's not my.
I heard there's two versions of it. There's two versions of it that you can watch.
A director's cut or something?
Yeah. So the director's cut has, because they did the same thing with
The original.
Well, one
or
of the
first one.
Halloweens has I want to say it's Halloween 5. Has 2 versions of it.
It's Halloween 6.
Is that the one where
With Tommy?
might be.
Yes.
Is Dr. Loomis in that one?
Yes.
Like a lot?
It's his final. Well, 6 was the final one, and Loomis is hardly in.
What's
it's not
the
even.
one that ends with him screaming no?
Loomis?
Yeah. Not the one where Jamie is thought to have killed her. It might be 6. I think you're right.
I think it's 6.
I think you're right. Because one of them ends with Tommy beating the shit out of Michael Myers
That is
with
6.
the green stuff.
Yes.
Hold on. Because there's 2 versions. One of them
Yes.
ends with that.
There's
the
that
other
one, and then there's a
with...
producer cut. It wasn't a director's cut because the director supposedly, like when we were talking earlier, we didn't get into too much. The director for that movie, or like you said earlier, like you don't really have to do much for it. He didn't want to do it, and New Line Cinema was wanting another movie or wanted another Halloween, so it was almost cursed from the beginning. Like they couldn't get anything done. The director didn't really like the mask. He made like a crappier looking. That's why the mask, in my opinion, is probably the worst one. And then you get to the end and it kind of ends. There also was a rumor he didn't like Donald Pleasance, and that's why Donald Pleasance wasn't it. Like there's actually no scene with Donald and Michael in that movie. It's only Donald on his own.
Because there was... See, I haven't watched
But
it
in the producer cut, there is.
But there's the part where Michael Myers is like in a hospital, and whatever happens, like Michael's just standing there frozen, and like people are like walking around him, and he just doesn't move at all, and all this stuff, and then it ends with Dr. Loomis gets the thorn symbol on him, and that's why he's screaming, "No, no!"
Oh,
it ends up
yeah.
on his arm,
Yeah.
implying that like now he has this curse to do whatever.
They also never brought that up again, though.
Dead. He's old.
They never brought up the whole curse thing. They were setting it up for like 3 movies.
Yeah.
Like they had the guy appear, and I don't even think the guy appeared in 4, but they were setting it up with
I
just.
think he showed up at the end.
Yeah, did he show up at the end of 4? Or I know 5 for sure. Because in 5 he shows up throughout the whole movie though, because they show him like get off the bus. No, they never did. Even in the next one, they never explained who that man in black was.
Yeah.
And then they tried to say. In 6, they tried to say, "Oh, it was the doctor." It was like
that's how like Michael escaped.
Yeah, which could kind of explain some,
it's
but
a cool throwback to the line where he's like, he doesn't even know how to drive a car, and he's like, maybe someone gave him lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool throwback to that. It's interesting.
But
it is what it is.
It was that one, and then it gave way to Halloween H2O, which I liked. I thought was a good movie. Then I'm gonna get to we gotta say it. Resurrection. I like the first 15 minutes. I like the Laurie Strode part.
You don't like fucking Busta Rhymes, man?
That part's so bad.
What? He's the hero.
Man, listen here. The kids come down here and they see 2 Michaels. The whole thing's gonna be fucked up, man. You fucked up. Now, I am Michael Myers, okay? So you go in there and you go in the garage, all right? I'll be Michael Myers.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Oh, God. He does like karate and, it's so... The kid texted him that's like in high school, is texting some college girl.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what? And then he's like messaged her on some site, and she like checks it like a pager. It was just, I don't. Let alone the weird sex thing or whatever they're put. It was just, it's a bad. Let alone which is another good point. Michael Myers' house changes movie to movie.
Yeah, that was definitely not Michael Myers' house.
Also, like when you go to number 5, there was no like cathedral. Like almost monster looking thing.
Well, some of those I believe were made by Universal, and they were shot in the back lot. So on the back lot, you have all these like houses that are just there, like they're in all kinds of like TV shows.
Well, just like
and stuff.
Universal or not Universal, but Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers. When I was reading a thing about Harry Potter recently, they talked about how they built a bunch of Pivot Drive. Yeah. So every time they filmed Pivot Drive. Privet, my bad. Every time they'd go to Privet Drive, they would actually see it was just the same houses over and over, and then they would CGI plaster like the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, that's how like
Scream too, because in Scream 3, they're literally on the set of Scream.
Well, I think the classic example is Back to the Future and Gremlins. They were both shot on the Universal backlot, And that clock tower and the whole square
yeah, same thing.
is the same square. You can see it blatantly in Gremlins, right in the opening shot. When it's like Christmas time, and I think it says like Gremlins over the screen. If you look to the right, you see the clock tower. It's right. It's the right side. Of your
I've watched Gremlins at work now,
and it's
recently.
the same square. But like I've been there because I've been on the back lot. It's cool to kind of see it, but they use the houses over and over again. Even the house from American Horror Story. It was used in other media. It's been used as like a.
Well, just like
it was used in another scary movie. I want to say it was used in like Buffy or something, as like a frat house or something like that.
Well, also I always bring up, just like thinking of that, the X Mansion. Yeah. The X Mansion was also Lex Luthor's mansion in Smallville.
Really?
Those locations are often, especially those big, fancier houses. There's only so many.
Yeah.
But they reuse them.
Yeah.
But, no, it's another.
But Rob Zombie's Halloween. Let's talk about that.
I liked the first one. I liked what he was going for with the kid. I don't really get... The only thing I don't like, and I've always said this, I like his whole vibe. I just hate that Michael still talks after he kills his sister. I wish that would have been the end of him talking, but they still try to like show him being normal.
Yeah, like that's number 2. I hate number 2.
No, that's still in the first one.
You mean the first one?
Yeah, when they still show him like after he's killed his sister and he's in the therapy and he's like, "Hi, mommy, how are you?" Like, I hated that. He should have not spoke. And then they went to him not talking, and then when he took the mask off, he like freaked out and was like, "No, by my face."
I think that was related to his mom. In that one, they gave him more of a relationship to his mom. He stopped talking after his mom died.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even after his mom died. It was just after his mom quit. Well, died and quit. Died and / quit visiting, because they show like some time go and her see the thing, and then the suicide or whatever.
No, because she came to the hospital.
It was Christmas time, because it was Christmas when she went. Yeah,
he stabbed that
that
nurse, and then she went home and ate a bullet.
Yep. With God, I can't stand the way they have Laurie scream. And also, how many times do we have to see Sherry Moon Zombie naked in a Rob Zombie movie?
She's only ever been naked in one movie, man.
Well, not naked, but just as like this sexy female attraction.
Hey, man, that's what Rob Zombie likes. He likes his wife, so he wants to see it.
I like my wife so much, I want all of you to look at her too.
I mean, hey, he wants people to be jealous, I guess. I don't know.
But
if that's what you're into, skinny, blonde, meth-looking chicks.
That's what I think.
It's not what I'm into, but to each his own. But
But I don't know.
I think it's cool. Like, is it a good,
they went
a remake?
like...
No, it's not a remake. It's a reimagining.
They went so next level, though.
Right.
Like, it's... Another thing that makes Michael Myers creepy, he's got a normal-looking family. It's just a regular kid that just snaps. Everyone knew he was going to snap. If I sat this kid in school and I went to school with him, and in today's climate, I would be telling my teachers I'm nervous to go to school. I would not be being mean to that kid, because I knew, I'm not trying to get morbid here, but in today's world, kids bring guns, and you don't tease, you don't be bullying, and that kid looked like a school killer. He literally kills a kid in school. Man,
that bully was not afraid. He's a spy kid. He's part of the OSS.
I was trying to think. He
played Junie in Spy Kids.
And he's a little too old now. Now he's being a bully.
Yeah.
But I always think, the kid that plays Michael Myers in that movie, I always think of from Hancock, Michelle.
Yeah.
Or however his name is. Don't call me bitch or whatever.
Call me an asshole one more time.
Yeah. God.
But I thought, it's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
But
you knew he was gonna go bad.
Movie.
You knew, like, there's no questioning. And what do they feed boys at Smith Grove? Because that small 5'3" child became a man. That was the biggest Michael Myers ever. 6'10" or 6'8" or something.
I mean,
he's the tallest,
I've
biggest
heard
Myers.
Rob Zombie's explanation for it, and he says, like, you've got this normal dude, he's one hand picking up people and stabbing them to like walls. I don't think so. That's not realistic. But if you have this giant fucking brute
and also unkept. Another thing they talked about, if you notice, is that's been a gripe on Halloween, is how clean Michael's cuticles are.
Sure.
Like, he really takes care of his hands. You know, I'm like looking at my hands now. Like, his hands almost look better than my hands.
Right.
Like, he really takes care of his hands. That's always been if you've been stabbing someone, your hands. That's another thing, though, with Rob Zombies. He is disgusting. His fingernails are gross. After he escapes out of the asylum, there's grime on him. After, like, he kills Joe Grizzly, he's got his blood. Joe Grizzly, hands down, the greatest character.
Joe Grizzly is way better than Busta Rhymes.
I wish he could have passed that beast in peace. Because that taco dinner was really killing him.
It was barking back at him.
And I hope no one scratched his rig, because he made a specific point, and nobody scratched it because I just got a new paint job.
He said, if you looking for some action, you better move on.
And he had like the tiniest knife.
He said, don't you go nowhere. I got something for your ass. We quote that all the time. He opens the door and looks up at this big bastard and just goes, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. Oh, God.
And what's so great about it is he goes in he's huge. That's where you don't...
Joe Grizzly's a big guy, too.
He's
up a fight.
No, he is. But Michael is so big, and that's where it's like seen. It's like when I go to I've never gone to go to like a stall and ducked.
Right.
And I had to like duck and like not like I'm just like a head go down. Like he literally had like push his head go down, shoulders in, and then expand out, and it's all in like one quick motion. He's in the stall, and he just grabs him. I just love that he doesn't actually like hurt him like crazy. He just grabs him and beats him into the stall.
I like the fucking balls on Joe Grizzly. Because it shows all the parts of Michael.
They show his flip-flops, the muddy feet. And you can tell, and you could also see that Michael's taller than the stall. So, like, he's, like, looking at, like, he's shitting and looking in Michael's eyes.
Well, no. The best part is he opens the door and sees this motherfucker in a patient robe, a long-ass dirty hair covered in blood with a pumpkin mask on, and decides to say, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch, and I'm going to cut that fucking mask right off your face. And then gets fucked up in the bathroom. And at one point, like, Michael Myers is grabbing his hand and smashing it into the wall. I saw an interview where he said, like, they weren't supposed to destroy that bathroom. It wasn't built like that. But they're just two big fucking guys that are so strong that like, they really destroyed that stall by smashing into it. They really dented that thing.
Boy, they're two huge men.
Well, I love the part where, like, Michael finally gets his knife. Joe punches him one time and, like, laughs and he thinks he got the upper hand. And Michael just stabs the shit out of him.
No! They're going to do, like, like an old school, like, slap! All right, slap! Like, that's what they were going to do. And Michael just, for some reason, stabbed him.
Yeah.
But I like, though, that he literally talks about how, like, he's been passing gas for the past few miles. He just needs to relieve this taco dinner. I just need please let me pass this beast in peace. Like, at this point, I would let that man shit before I take his pants, because you know those are some shit drawers.
You've got more character than Michael Myers, I suppose. But I didn't like how... What I didn't like in that, like, I like how, like, brutal Michael was. I thought that was cool. I didn't like that it introduced that Laurie was his sister right away.
Yeah.
That's where I think the 2018 one did it right. And I think I told you this when it came out. Was like, my favorite part in the 2018 one was when Michael has his costume, all that stuff, whatever. He just gets to Haddonfield. And it just shows a shot of just Halloween night, Michael walking down the street, and he takes a fucking
best part of that movie.
And goes in these people's houses.
That's the best part. And it's house to house. Literally, house.
He's just going house to house. And just fucking indiscriminately just murdering. Again, that's fucking scary, dude.
No, I agree. And that's what, like, the concept of just going, I like that. The only thing, though, going back to Rob Zombie, because it has to be said, I loved Rob Zombie's movie. I loved almost everything he did. I did not like having Lindsay. Trejo. Yeah. The problem is, I was like, man, I really like Danny in this movie. She's very hot.
No,
whoa.
I said Danny Trejo.
Oh, Danny Trejo. Okay, let's go to Danny. I'll come back. He gets his own segment. But I just got to say, I don't like that they recast. I get recasting Annie, and I've looked later on. The reason why she did it was because everyone saw her as Laura or Jamie, right. So she wanted to make herself grow older, and I get that, because then I'm being honest. I don't see her as a kid anymore after seeing her tits run out and me being attracted to her. But then I feel very uncomfortable that I've watched this girl as like a little kid for years, liked her as an actor, but I've never really seen her in anything else but the two Halloween movies. And then weird to be like, now I've seen you topless.
Well, we talked about that, how it's kind of creepy because like her face looks, some of the expressions when she screams and stuff looks just like when she's a kid.
And that's exactly. And then now I'm seeing her, I don't know, it's just weird, and it's like literally shirtless, titties out, screaming, like I just, and it's not the like I said, and then I think also what I didn't like was I found her attractive. Then it's like I go and find out like why does she look so familiar, and then it's like, oh, I feel like, and then I felt like, you know, weird for myself, like I shouldn't have found her attractive now.
Right. Well, because I still watch Halloween 4 all the time.
So do I.
Me, you're still, 9 years old or whatever you are in that movie.
Yep. No, I agree. And then I watched that movie, and then I can't. It's really hard to watch that, then see Rob Zombies, and especially if she's topless in it, because then it's just like. And then she had to be topless in the next one, but they didn't have it as explicit. But
right. Yeah, there's a few actors that just like get stuck in the genre, and like they'll be a rock star in the genre, but if they go and do anything else, it's just horseshit. Like Robert Englund. You've never seen Robert Englund do anything. Even when he's in other horror movies, it's always like a B-rated horror movie.
Do you know what?
Or like another one that...
he's... Speaking of Robert, before we move on, Robert Englund, you probably don't know this. I'm a DC fanatic, if you guys may not know this. But I love my DC comics. And Robert Englund has voiced Felix Faust in the old Justice League show.
That's interesting.
He was like the sorcerer. And he voiced... with the new Batman movie coming out, but he voiced the Riddler in a TV show called The Batman back in the day, and it literally had almost like a serial killer, which is what they're going for in this new Batman movie, but like a serial killer vibe, and it's just weird to hear, like, when you hear it, like, is that Robert Englund?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Why are you in Batman? Why are you in Justice? Just hearing his voice anywhere, it's like, whoa, it's Robert Englund.
Yeah, but that actress that plays Jamie, she was also in the Hatchet movies.
Yeah, she's a horror film. That's what
I'm trying to say is like some of them just get trapped in the genre, and they can find work forever in those. I don't know like what they pay. I'm sure they pay more than my job, but they can't break out of horror. So I mean, to me, just milk that shit. You have a job forever. Like if you're Freddy Krueger, like I've thought this forever when like Robert Englund's like, I'm retiring the makeup. I'm never putting it on again. Why? Because you're super busy?
Because he wants more money.
Huh?
Because he wants more money.
Why? Just take what they give you and shut the fuck up. Like, you get the makeup on, and then you go and sign autographs and take pictures.
But then I get what you're saying for, like, Freddy, it's a little different. But then I think of, like, Hugh Jackman, who revealed for, like, why do you want to stop being Wolverine? I want to stop eating grilled chicken breast, rice, and broccoli every day. Like,
well,
what do you mean?
Different if
he's
you're
like,
Hugh
I have to eat rice, chicken, and then you like look at Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in the different films, and he gets like more bulk, more bigger, more abs, more tone, and it's like what you want with Wolverine. You don't even notice in the first one he's got a chub, but I couldn't imagine. But like you said though, with Robert Englund, the only thing is makeup. The only thing you go through is that makeup.
Which realistically, like I get it in the '80s, like makeup was rough. It's like you sat in the chair for a long time.
It's still rough.
Right. Yeah, you hate makeup. But, like, now compared to then, like, they can make, like, silicone appliances that are pre-painted, apply them. Like, his makeup can take an hour.
I get what you're saying, but have you ever seen about what Jim Carrey went through with The Grinch?
Yeah, with The Grinch.
Absolutely hilarious. How they just, like, he was so stressed off, they, like, had some FBI interrogator come, and they talked about how, like, some sudden jolt of pain, like, hit your arm, move really quick, and also smoke. Really? So then they talked about, like, there's pictures of him, and you couldn't just smoke because he didn't want to burn the sheep hair. So he had to smoke with, like, this 3-foot cigarette tube, and it's a picture of him smoking as the Grinch. Right. And he's still in character because, the Grinch is a sour, kind of mad mood. Right. But it's like, he's like, it's for the kids, it's for the kids, it's for the kids. He's smoking, like, 3 packs a day.
Right. I don't understand, like, the difference is Hugh Jackman then goes on to do stuff. Like Hugh Jackman says, what you're saying. I'm not going to be Wolverine anymore.
But then he did like the Showman and other movies.
Right, the Greatest Showman, where he's got #1 hits. He wants to do musicals and stuff. Fantastic. And like, I don't know. Robert Englund just hasn't broken out of horror.
Robert Englund looks like a creepy pedophile.
Right, but Robert Englund, you can dress up forever as Freddy Krueger, go to Comic Cons, and you have work forever.
I think what it came down to is the as much as we still love it, there's not money in it anymore.
Or like Kane Hodder does the same thing.
Let's stay away from him.
Can we talk about him?
Everyone thinks he's the best Jason, and he's...
I don't agree.
He's in, 2-3 movies?
They say that he has played Jason more times than anyone. I'll give him that. But he didn't play Jason till, part 5. Part 6. Which is when they turned into back, fucking, super camp. So it's like saying that...
Yeah, it was part 6, because No. Which one didn't even have Jason? Part 5?
I don't know, dude. I haven't watched all his movies. They suck.
I want to say it's part 5, as it's the ambulance guy.
Right. But that's what I'm trying to say, is, you played him when, no one else wanted to fucking play him because the movie sucked. It was changing rights. It was changing hands. They were making movies. They never had scripts. And
it'll never be remade today because now it's one guy owns the Friday the 13th, the license and the rights, and the other guy owns Jason.
Right.
You need both to make the movie. And pretty much, one guy... I don't know, it's a weird property. Michael had his mask from the beginning, had his, kind of background, and off they went. Jason didn't even have it. His mom's the beginning one. The second one, it's him, and he's running, and he's, slower, mentally challenged.
But the problem... No, man. It equates to, okay, so the guy, Tyler something, played him in Rob Zombie. He played him twice.
Okay.
All right? That's like me saying that's Michael Myers. He is Michael Myers. He's the big guy. He has all these memorable scenes. He played him more times than any other actor. And it's shut the fuck up. No, he's not.
Michael actually did have an actor play him for almost 3 movies, though. The guy who played him in 4 and 5.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he played him for part of 6, but he thought Michael looked too fat, so there's actually 2 guys that get the role of Michael for that movie.
See, I thought they changed that, because I thought one guy played him in 4. That's why in 5 he looks all fucked up, because they put all kinds of padding underneath his clothes.
Then it was a Native American guy. Then maybe he was in 5 and 6, but he was Native American. But the bigger guy that you're speaking, because he had a big ass neck.
Yeah.
And he wore her boyfriend's name was Mikey.
Yeah.
Hey, Mikey! She gets in the car and she kisses him and he grips the gloves.
Oh, that's when he has on that other mask.
Yeah.
It's a weird old guy with he's smoking or something.
Yeah, a cigar, a Reagan mask or something, something from that time.
Yeah, one of those weird over cartoon type faces. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But so what about the new ones? What about the new Halloweens? What do you think?
I've liked both of them, but honestly, it gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people were kind of cheap, my opinion, and went and saw it on Peacock, so they were sitting at it from home, literally not even had moved, had spent money, had done nothing, and then they're ready to judge it. And we're mad at any scene that it fit them. I thought we saw one of the most brutalest Michael Myers killing scenes in that opening scene with the firemen. And then to hear oh, that's so terrible to the firemen. No offense to the firemen, but I've watched policemen die and ambulance die, so I don't understand why I can't see firemen die in that movie. I don't know, it's just part of the thing. But I thought it was good. The only thing is it's setting up a third. The second one is 100% setting up a final movie with Jamie Lee Curtis. And then that's why you didn't see as much scenes with her, but I like the thing of the town. I feel like Haddonfield would be affected, but I really could not stand Tommy Lee Wallace driving around, or Tommy Lee, whatever his name is.
Right.
Evil dies tonight. Oh,
I just want to see them kill fucking Ben Hollister. I want to see Ben Hollister die. Because to me, you have to. But I think, I don't know. I like him so far. Like I said, I like that, first off, Michael is brutal as fuck.
That the best scene, which I think me and Justin can agree, because it was just creepy and I like the music afterwards. I'm all about music, but was in the first 2018 or whatever, when they're in that backyard and he's with the girl and she like leaves and he's like, all right, Allison, and he's like, I'm sorry, Mr. McGilmore, I'm sorry for being in your yard. And then like it flashed and you can see Michael Myers and he's like, I was just taking a shortcut and like I'll get out of here, and like he quits moving for a second. And, you know, and it's constantly on him. He stops moving. And then it's like, he's on the other side now.
Right.
And then it's like, well, how'd you get over there? And then, like, it goes off again. And then he just, like, stabs him. And I was like, holy shit. And I love that going after, he's a shape. He's a force.
Right.
That it doesn't even picture him moving. And, like, literally when the light comes on, the greatest is when he's right in front of you because it makes you jump. Even though you're expecting it, you knew he's about to be right in front of him. You know it's about to happen. But still, when it happens, you still jump. And I like that music, the I thought it was cool. They had I thought it was interesting. Best part of the new one though was all of the old scenes they did.
Yeah.
I love the beginning scene, and I
Yeah,
thought the
true.
old scene was phenomenal. I every time they ever do they've never really done an old flashback.
Right.
And then again, now that they've done it, I'm glad that they did it justice. Even the guy who played Loomis for that was absolutely phenomenal.
Right.
He look like it. I think honestly, I'm more for that now than for that face thing that they've been doing like in Star Wars and other movies to like give the people so they can make
Right.
them reprise their roles. It just doesn't look right.
Right.
I'd rather see an actor that looks really close to him. Yeah, I thought it looked great.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think what they're doing now is much better. I think that you learn very quickly, you know, you'll have a better movie if you give the movie to someone who cares about it.
Yes.
And let them make it instead of Mr., you know, studio man step in and fuck it up.
No, that's a big thing, which
Like,
I agree.
That stuff has never worked out. It never works out. You always hear it like studio interference. That's what like Rob Zombie totally blames Halloween 2 on the studio.
Yep.
I've heard it.
Even-
I don't know how true it is because I haven't seen his version. But
Even part 1 though, he blames on the studio because he originally wanted to do like a trilogy. He wanted to do his movie, which he did for the last one. The first one's supposed to be like a Asylum, second one would be Halloween Night, and the third one like a sequel to it.
right,
But didn't get to it. But I mean, heck, studio problems been a thing even with like Warner Brothers and stuff. You look at Batman vs Superman, they cut out a half hour of the film to make that.
right.
It's studio coming in and saying the movie needs to be this or that, and them editing the movie to make them happy.
I wonder how many times because like studios are pretty quiet, so I wonder how many times like they've come in and made changes and like it worked out. There has to be some. Like
I feel like they would brag on it though.
I don't think they would. I think they would let the director have it because
They could, but then it's also like vice versa. How many times have studios came in and then messed it all up?
yeah, that's true, but that's the only ones you hear about.
True.
I don't know.
But you know when a studio messed up when they release a director's cut. If a movie has a director's cut,
Yeah.
that means the studio didn't trust the director to begin with, and the director didn't like the movie. So to appease the director, like I said, that's why Batman vs Superman has an ultimate cut. There's even a Zack Snyder's Justice League for those, and there's like others like the Halloween, like you said. But if a movie doesn't that's how I've always kind of seen it. If it doesn't have another cut, they were happy with it when it first came out.
I want to see all the NC-17 versions of all these movies. I feel like I would enjoy them.
I would love to see that version of Scream. Because we talk about Scream, how you don't find it that scary. Do you know how hard it was for Wes Craven to get that movie made? Because of how brutal, like, we don't see it as that brutal because it's not like, you know, Texas Chainsaw, like, action.
Right.
But it's gory. It's a girl ripped up with her guts hanging out in the beginning of the movie. And
from a tree.
And hung, literally, and, like, stabbed, and, like, the way that they stab and, like, show the bruise. And, like, I'd love to see the original version of Scream, not what the studio made them cut.
Well, that's what I mean. I'd like to see, like, I remember when Rob Zombie was making 31.
I'm good on his Rob Zombies because Rob Zombie already goes top notch. So his NC-17, I don't even. Oh my god!
I'd like to see it. I mean,
It
he
would
has
be-
done some dark shit. Like
I feel like sometimes though he
the
goes
Devil's
things.
Rejects got a little fucking.
Yes.
It was kind of pushing it with some of the scenes, but like, 31, like I heard it. He had to cut it down just so it could get an R. I'd like to see those versions. I'd be interested. I think there's a market for people that would watch that too. You'd have to like release it yourself.
Yeah,
The
but that's what
studio
it comes. That's what it comes down to, and they would have to release it. Like I always think of, if you ever seen the movie, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
No.
Weird movie. Creepy, but I don't like rape scenes. They creep me out. I don't enjoy them.
Right.
And there's an extremely bad rape scene in that movie, and it's the only time I've ever seen this. And when we went and seen the movie, they literally came out and said, just there's an extremely bad like rape scene. We've had people complain, but they were like literally saying there's a scene in the movie that I've never had that where like a horror movie, or you know what I mean, where they're like there's a scene so bad that like we got to let you know.
Right.
That was the only time, and it was. But like, I feel like you would have to have that same scenario though, where they'd have to make sure they have something. And they literally had it where like I'd walk up and I had to show them my ticket, and I had to like prove that whoever's with me was like an adult, so I could go see the movie.
Well, I'm not saying I'd watch it in theaters, but like I'd buy it.
I get they have a better chance of selling it than they probably would of releasing in theaters, just because of how hard.
Well, yeah,
because you can't let anyone.
Contracts and everything.
Yep, and you can't let anyone young see, however brutal this may be.
Right, but I'd buy it.
I wish they would just release them, especially like, but I don't know if the cuts even exist, because I know how many times Wes Craven complained of why he didn't even want to do, because he did Scream 2 and Scream 3, he didn't want to come back for him just because of how hard it was. He thought, he doesn't believe you can make a horror movie anymore, because the rights on making horror films and to get an R, it's almost not as scary as you could have it.
Right. So we are going on an hour 40. I think it's time to wrap up. So before we go, I want to talk about what I've got for you and for us for next week. The way we're going to do this, I've picked a topic for next week, which, just because I knew what we were doing and you didn't, you can pick one you'll tell me next week what the topic will be for the following week. So if you know about my topic, you don't have to do anything. We'll just talk about it. If you don't, go and watch something, go and read something, go and find something so we can talk about it and see what you think. But next week, our topic, we're going to talk about Bigfoot and what you think about Bigfoot. So don't talk about it now. We'll save it for next week. Go figure something out. Go look into it. See if you think it's not real, go see if you can change your mind.
So is this why 2 years ago you made me watch that Bigfoot shit on Hulu?
I don't remember what you're talking about, but
it was like Find Sasquatch.
Anyway, this has been the Midnight Hour. Thank you guys very much. Have a good night. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.